So, hey everyone, it's Roxy here. I'm with beautiful Danielle Paige from America, from the USA. We met through a mutual friend, Jason Shirker, and I've just been following her work and just really interested in astrology. I kind of was touching into the astrology realm as a child, reading my horoscope, but then I've kind of left it a big gap. And so I'm really pleased to have Danielle on the show today to help bring some education through for myself and for the viewers here. So welcome, Danielle.
Thank you so much for having me on, and I'm happy to talk about anything. We could talk about astrology, we could talk about energy, my awakening, anything.
Amazing. And so everyone that's watching, Danielle just released her first TV series on Unified TV's platform. What was it called? Accessing Your Multidimensional Self. And I've watched the first episode, so congratulations on that. It's so amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So, guys, check that out on Unified TV, and we'll also share your details at the end. But let's just get started into horoscopes. I'd love to hear just a little bit of your perspectives over all of the different horoscopes and any personality kind of traits that the horoscopes generally have, and anything funny, anything peculiar about the horoscopes, and any funny personality traits that they have.
Yeah. So I want to first start off by saying that we are so much more than our sun sign. So like when people look up their horoscope, which by the way, I'm also going to throw this out. I don't do horoscopes because I do true mystical astrology. Okay. So I don't write horoscopes. However, when people look up their horoscopes, they're really looking at their sun sign. So I can talk about some of the sun signs, but
Yeah.
we are so much more than our sun signs. So sometimes people are like, I'm a Leo and I don't feel like what Leo says, when they read the horoscope. And it's because you could have your Leo in the 12th house. It could be conjunct Saturn. It could be conjunct Pluto. We have no idea what's going on. So there's layers and layers and layers. So I just kind of want to throw that out there so people know. But yeah, we can just pop up. Give me a sign, and then I'll give you like the funny traits and the quirks about them. You can ask me a sign.
Capricorn, for example.
Capricorn. Okay, well, Capricorn gets a bad rap. So we're just gonna throw out like random stuff, but Capricorn gets a bad rap because they are known. Capricorn and Virgo actually get a bad rap because they're earth signs. And so sometimes
My
people
mother
think,
is Virgo.
yeah. So sometimes people think they're boring, but they're far from it. It's just a different kind of energy. So Capricorn, you guys are actually the Benjamin Button of the zodiac, because when you're younger, you kind of carry the weight of the world on your shoulders, and it's a lot. So as you get older and you mature, you begin to soften and you begin to almost age reverse. So oftentimes you guys look younger as you get older because you're learning that you don't have to be responsible for everything that you thought when you were younger. It's a heavy weight as a child, as a Capricorn.
Mm.
So as you get older, we call it the Benjamin button. So, but you guys are here to build empires, build, build,
Mm.
build.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, my sister is Capricorn, and growing up, she was the first child, and she was like
Oh,
mummy's little helper, and
yeah,
so
there you
she's
go.
undoing all of these energy flows now and finding who she really is without being
Yes.
that, responsible kind of
Yes.
sister.
Yeah, she's doing the Benjamin button. So she's almost finding her childhood. So it's important for Capricorns to play more as they get older because you probably didn't do that a lot.
Yeah, that's so true. It so sums her up, really. And
Yeah.
and so what would you say, like, because I'm the 21st of May. So some call it Taurus, some call it Gemini. I feel like I'm actually a little bit of both. So what would you say for those types of people that are on what they call the cusp?
Yeah. So it really depends on the year. So we would have to put in the year to see where it is. Um, I could always do it now if you want to share your info, or we can do it later. It's up to you.
Yeah,
If
I'm
you're
I'm open.
okay. So let's pull this up. Let me find the okay, so because I want to know exactly. Okay, so what is your birth info?
21st of May, 1986.
Okay. And
And
then
born, do you need my birth date or where I was born?
yeah, where the time, exact time, and then where.
Oh, the exact time would have. I'm feeling the morning about 6:30 in the morning.
Okay, so that I'm glad. Let me tell you in a second. So where, what city and
Gosford, New South Wales, Australia.
Sorry, you said Oxford?
Yeah, Gosford.
Oh,
Gos. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Ford.
Okay. There we go. Okay, so I'm glad you brought this up. And let me just change the screen so I can see. Um, birth time is so important. So if you don't know your exact, then that's going to change the chart. So because a
Uh-huh.
lot of people guess and they're like, oh, maybe like 6:30 in the morning, but then maybe it's 4, maybe it's 5,
Mm.
and that changes. So do you have any idea based on
No, I
like,
don't. I'm gonna have to ask my mother. Yeah.
yeah,
So
okay.
can you still get a bit of a reading without it, or is it very important
You
that
can get a
aspect?
reading, but because you're 29 degrees of Taurus, so I have you as, yeah, May 21st, 1986. Okay, you're 29 degrees of Taurus,
Yeah.
and 29 degrees is the last degree before it goes 0 to the other degree. So you're based on this, you're technically a Taurus. So I know when people say cusp babies, here's the thing. Unpopular opinion. But there's really no cussed babies. I know this is like, oh my God, this is what I heard. But you're either this sign or you're that sign. What happens is you most likely have other planets in the sign next to it, which you do. You have your Venus in Gemini. So that makes you
Mm.
feel like Gemini energy as well. But
This
you
is
actually,
yeah.
based on this, you have your Mercury and your sun sign and your rising in Taurus. Okay. And then you just have your Venus in Gemini. So that's why you might feel like, oh, maybe I have some Gemini energy and I'm on the cusp, but it's because of your Venus, not because of your sun sign. Your sun sign is 29 degrees of Taurus.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad we're doing this because that's confusing for a lot of people.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I definitely feel that Venus energy, and I feel like that helps me to what they call go into my moon. So, like the inner personality of my divine feminine, I feel is related to that Gemini sweetness.
Well, your moon is in Libra. So Libra is very like PC, wants relationship, wants balance, wants fairness. So you
Mm.
actually have a strong, but in your chart, if we want to, we're just diving in deeper here now. So
No.
people can see Venus in your chart, which you talked about, which is the Venus in Gemini, is very strong. I like to call it a heavy hitter because it's your dispositor of your sun, because you're a sun in Taurus, which is ruled by Venus. Your chart ruler, because you are a Taurus rising, is that Venus. And also Venus rules Libra as well. So that in your chart, Venus is very strong. And so it's in Gemini. So yes, there's a lot of things pointing towards that Venus in your chart.
Yeah, I
That's
feel
why it gets so complicated. Like we were starting off just basic bitch astrology, and now we're in like the depth of it. I love it.
I love it too because I feel like I said at the beginning, I kind of parked it because it was just so overwhelming, and that's why I was like, oh, I'd love to have you on just to share some of the basic
Yes.
tools for people and myself because I feel a calling. You know, when things come across your path and it's like, okay, it's time to learn this now. So, what other basics can you teach here? Anything coming to mind for people to
Yeah,
benefit
so
from
if
to
you really
learn?
want the basics, and when you talk about astrology, it got popular on Instagram. Everyone likes to talk about what are your three, and your three are really your sun, moon, and your rising. So the sun in your chart, for you, it's Taurus. Um, the sun in the chart is your life force. It's how you shine. And I always say at the end of the day, when I'm laying in bed and I'm going to sleep, the sun, because I'm a Taurus too, the sun and Taurus, like those qualities are very important to me. So for you, it's reliability, sustainability. You also like luxury, things that are nice, things that are beautiful. I remember when I was building my business years ago and I had no money, I would spend, if I had any money, where would I spend my money? Not on clothes. I mean, Taurus likes clothes, but not on clothes, but it was like nice sheets and I had to have nice towels. Like if those things, like good quality, made me feel like I could get out there and do stuff in the world,
Mm,
right? So Taurus likes those finer things in life. So that's
mm,
your sun sign. And then your moon sign is our inner world. So oftentimes people like online, they might not see our moon sign, but when we're going to sleep at night, and we're with a partner, and if we are just emotional during the day, they see our inner workings, and they see really what we need to be nurtured and how we need to be fed. And that is our moon sign. So really like a partner or children or anyone who lives with you can see your inner workings, or like really good friends. Okay.
Yeah.
So your moon is your emotional nature, what you need to feel nurtured, what you need to feel safe, how you process your emotions, and how you're going to basically like feed your chart is what I like to call it.
And
Because we're
that
not
kind of, Danielle, would you agree that kind of aligns with the moon cycle for, well, for a female for particular, and men, that energy that rises that in the moon on a full moon, we kind of have to go inward to release and feel the emotion. And because we all feel it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the moon is so very real. And as women, we ebb and flow so frequently with the moon. So we are more in tune with that. Like the sun is the masculine yang energy, and the moon is our feminine yin.
Yeah.
So absolutely we feel that during the cycles as well.
Mm.
And then we have the rising sign. So the rising sign, and again, there's more to the chart, but this is just like if we want to start basic, this is what can help people. The rising sign in the chart is how we move through life. So I like to say the rising sign is the vehicle you drive. You can use that analogy. Like, are you driving a Jeep through like the desert and going over the rocks? Like, is that your personality, right? Or are you in like an S-Class Mercedes, right, with tinted windows, right? You know, how are you moving through life? So this really shows when we meet people for the first time, they really see our rising sign. Now, for you, when they meet you, they're going to meet your true self because you are a sun in Taurus and also a rising in Taurus, and all in the first house. So what you see is what you get with you. Like with me, it's really funny because I have a lot of fire in my chart and I'm fiery and like I could be outgoing. But then when you get to know me, I'm actually really quiet and really chill. And like there's actually a shyness to me because the rest of my chart, you know, is like Taurus sun, Cancer moon. But then when you first meet me, it's fire, right? So, but then I'm like, people I've lived with, they're like, you're the quietest person. I'm like, I'm so quiet at home, you know what I'm saying? So, but it's like, I had a friend we used to call the rising sign the great fake out, because it's like it is still a part of you, but it's not like the deepest part of you, right? It's just what you present to the world.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So, so those are the three, and those are the three that to look out for if you're getting a reading. And then the birth chart reading. What's the analogy of a birth chart reading? What's someone getting when they're doing something like this?
Oh my gosh, so much. I mean, I got into this because I had my awakening almost 16 years ago now. My first awakening, I should say, because we have many. So the first awakening that blasted me open, and I really did not know who I was or what was going on because I started seeing the world through a different lens. And somehow, right, it was all planned for my soul. I found astrology. I met this guy. He became a friend. He was like, "Do you want me to read your chart?" And I was like, "Sure." I'm a Taurus. Like I didn't know what he can read,
Yeah.
right? And he read my chart, and I was like, "Oh my God, you don't really know me, and you already know so much about me." And so something changed inside of me, and I'm like, "This is amazing." So,
Mm.
anyways, long story short, I went home that night and I read everything I could about astrology, and I never stopped. And I just started going and I started remembering. And so the reason why I got into this, because I was like, listen, I am having an awakening. Oh, I didn't know it was an awakening, but things were changing, right? And I didn't know who I was. I used to do interior design and architecture, and that's when the economy tanked in 2009. So there were no design jobs, which was all planned for my awakening because I wasn't supposed to do that anymore. So I had to figure out who I want to do. So I started with the birth chart to understand me. Like that's all it started with. I was like, well, I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know what I'm good at. So why don't I just like dive into this and maybe it can tell me something. So after I started discovering this, I'm like, this is an amazing tool. And I realized like the light bulb went off. I'm supposed to do this for people. I'm
Mm.
supposed to help people. And so that's how my journey of what I'm doing and teaching the world started. It started with astrology. And so the birth chart can help you find your behavioral patterns. We are all wired a certain way. You know, I always say, I love the people that say they don't believe in astrology because I can read your chart and tell you a lot about you without even knowing you, right? So to me, it's psychology and human behavior. And I've always done that. I've
Mm.
always been interested in that. So it can show you how you're wired, what your tendencies are, your shadow side, and then the higher octave. And there's so many things in between. It can relate to purpose and direction and what you're here for and your gifts and your talents. And it's just layered and layered and layered and layered. And you know, the birth chart's always, the more you evolve, the more it evolves with you, because you can see things from a new perspective. So
Mm.
it's incredible. It's amazing. I don't really do birth chart readings anymore because I did that for about 12 years. So now I offer it for people in my membership. So I do that for them. But I teach courses now on how to read it. And so you can take the driver's, you know, driving the steering wheel and into your own hands, and you can understand your soul birth chart, because this is the blueprint of your soul, truly. So, you know, this doesn't keep us bound, but it has an understanding of, we are wired the way we are. So let's understand that, and how can it help us become better human beings?
Yeah, it's so crazy because I'm feeling that call to investigate more, right? And it's funny because I've gone through that whole awakening, the healing, you know, our story is the medicine, that's how we found our soul, and it's just a
Yes,
different arrival, you know, to
yes,
the
but
unraveling
it's
of
all
it.
the same.
You know,
Yeah,
but it's like, okay, now this, you know, and this is becoming, and just by meeting you as well, it's like, okay, pay attention here, because everything that's happening, crossing your path
yes,
is for a reason. And
yes,
that's why I'm so glad to get you on, because I think some of our galactic kind of community, you know, might have done that whole galactic thing first, the inner healing similar to us, and now is going back through, because it's all interrelated. All of
all
this
of it.
is so interrelated. And that's what I'm finding from some of your Instagram posts. It's like, oh, okay, that's just another perspective. It's similar language, but there's a blueprint, like you said, a textbook that matches some of these things. Like, for example, solar flares and the energy and what's happening. And I'm sure that you've got so much wisdom on planetary movements with solar flares, what's going to happen this year perhaps, and what we're looking at here, because there's probably this textbook with the planets that you know about, whereas I'm tuning into the solar flares of the sun in a different kind of light,
Yeah.
right? So what can you
Yes.
share about
It's
that?
it's all the same thing. I'm happy to talk about 2024 a little bit
Yeah, awesome.
um coming up, because so I just finished my 2024 forecast. Um so it's still available. People want it. It's 2 hours
Yeah.
of magic, and we have fun. There's a lot of memes in there, because I know astrology can get a little boring if you're not an astrologer. So we got to throw in some memes and make it fun. So
So we'll put the links in the captions below so
awesome.
everyone can find you. Yeah.
Awesome. So 2024 is definitely going to be, you know, I said this in a post, and someone made a comment being sarcastic, but it's also like, I'm not here to scare people. Okay. So what I said is 2024 is not going to be quiet. It's going to be a loud year. And someone's like, well, good, because I was, you know, like I was getting boring. I was getting bored with it being quiet. And like, I get it. And they were making a joke, but like, I'm also not here to scare people. So I have to be careful about my words and what I say. It's a dynamic year.
Mm.
We are, in 2025, let's say this, there are a lot of planets changing signs, and that is very rare for so many outer planets to change signs, okay, all at one time. So that means this year, 2024, it's all at the end. So when that happens, this is like a climax point of events in the world happening, endings, beginnings, purging out, new doors opening. But when the new door opens, what happens, right? There's a little bit of chaos, right? It's just like if you want to renovate your house and you want to redo the kitchen, well, it's going to be a mess before it looks beautiful again.
Yeah.
That's where we're at. So that's where we're at. It's a little chaotic. You know, we have one of the biggest transits. I'll just share this one. We have Pluto moving from Capricorn into Aquarius. So in 2023, it dipped its toe into Aquarius for a little bit. So we got a taste of that. And then
Mhm.
it went back into retrograded back into Capricorn. So it's there now. Around January 20th, it's going to move, Pluto's going to move back into Aquarius, and where it will be the entire year until about September. So from September, and I believe it's November, don't quote me on that, but because I just looked at a million dates, but I think it's September, November, it goes back into Capricorn for the last time until 2043.
Ooh.
2044. So we're now going into, in January, Pluto in Aquarius, and then September to November, it'll just dip one last dip, retrograde back in, and then it goes back and goes into Aquarius again, where it will be for the next 20 something years.
Mm,
So this is a very big deal. Our entire collective is changing.
mm,
And I'll just drop this little nugget here for people to understand. The last time it was in Aquarius, the last cycle, it was around 1777-ish, okay? And that was around the Industrial Revolution. So there is a rhyme and a reason of the things that happen, and then you can look at the timing and cycles of events, okay?
mm,
Um, we can already see the rise of AI, and I know there's a lot of people that hate it and this and that, and the reality is what I'm going to say is it's not going to go away. We're going to have to work with it, and with anything there's going to be a lot of beautiful things. It's going to help medicine. It's going to be like real science, like real beautiful things. Going to take away the mundane, and then there's going to be a big shadow side because that's everything on earth, duality.
mm,
So I don't want us to look at all of AI as bad, because the reality is we're already using AI in so many ways that we people don't even realize.
mm,
But the rise and how it's going to go at an exponential rate is going to like blow our minds,
mm.
really, because it's going to change humanity as we know it.
Mm. And it already kind of is. Like a lot of
Yep,
artwork and images on
yep,
the internet now are being
yep,
created by AI, like just the
yep,
click of the button. And
yeah,
it's wild, some of the
yeah.
what's going on. It's just so quick and smart and intelligent. It's like
Yes.
going to be feels like smarter than some of us. You know?
Oh, it's very scary in many ways, yes. And
Mm,
that's where it's going to be good and it's going to be bad. Like
mm.
we're creating a monster, but this is also, and again, I'm not for or against it. I'm just stating facts, right? Like,
Yeah.
it is what it is. I don't really even have an opinion, except that it's not going away. And
Mm.
so we are creating a consciousness, but we wouldn't be able to do that if our consciousness wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
It's a matter of being in alignment. And that's where humanity needs to go, because we're seeing everything that's going on in the world. We're not in alignment. And that's the problem.
Mm.
That's the problem.
And so this shift this year, it's like, you've got an opportunity to drop the baggage and purge it out. And we can see globally, globally, there's events happening, shifting and changing. We're seeing behind the illusion of a lot of events happening. And, the energy, the sun, the solar flares helping us ascend. So we're rising. It's just a matter of keeping everything in balance. So intelligence and spirituality, and some other extraterrestrial races haven't done that in the past. And they ended up cloning and wrecking the original DNA blueprint of some species. And so I think humanity has a lot to learn from all of that, and to keep it
Yep.
all in balance and not let our egos ride and try and control it. But I think the difference is now is we're rising, it's not dropping. So the energy, if you're in false, I don't think the energy is going to support that at any level. I know no one around me can be in false because it's just very loud and rude and everyone can see it. So I think what's happening on all the different levels of humanity, it's like if you're in false, it's going to be really ugly. And truth is the only way forward. So if you're in truth, I think you're going to energetically be looked after, and reward is yours.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's really hard. And we're seeing that now, there's going to be a lot of more conquer and divide, which is ironic and ridiculous, because we're all connected. Pluto and Aquarius is humanity. But yet with that, there's this division that they pump out in the media and the narratives of divide. So we have to go into our heart.
Yeah,
It's weird.
totally. And thank God there's a few thousand, I don't know what the percentage is. I don't think it's a big percentage of light workers that are, awake and elevated, but there's a good amount, and I think we're heading in a really positive, way. I think it's like the dark night of the soul. This purge takes time. It's not over. We have to labor the birth of this new world, and the labor process takes a while, and it can be painful, and that's what we're all going through. So I think it's really exciting times for us.
It's definitely going to be a wild ride. Put
Mm,
on your seatbelt, right?
yeah.
And connect to your heart and your soul. And that's going to be so important.
Mm. So what other dates are important in 2024? Is there any in particular? I like how you talk about the eclipses. I never
Mhm.
really got into this or even had that knowing. And now that I've got your education and your knowing, I'm like, oh my God, so much was happening last year on those dates that I'm like,
Oh, always,
that makes
always.
sense. Yeah.
Eclipse are, they're my jam. You know, everyone freaks out about Mercury retrograde, which they shouldn't.
Well, I've
It's just,
experienced that one. All the computers for me last year were
yeah,
like
and
emails
it
didn't
is a
go
thing.
and yeah.
It is a thing.
Yeah.
But what I always say is this is nothing compared to season. So, you know, Mercury retrograde, there are mishaps because it rules technology and information. And that's how it just shows how, you know, astrology is so, we are astrology. We are connected to the stars. We are the cosmos, right?
Mm.
There's no separation. But eclipse season, yes. So we're actually going to have a humongous eclipse on April 8th. That this is what I'm putting my eye on. And so I like to say that eclipse energy comes in about a month before. So around March 8th will be like
Oh,
the, so that's when eclipse energy, I have noticed over the years, starts to enter, like it enters the chat, okay? About
okay.
a month before. So I will say around the end of March, beginning of April, there's going to be some stuff in the world stage that's going to be big. And this one could be a little scary. I'm not going to lie, because it's in Aries. So it
Mm.
could be, listen, I'm happy to be wrong. I'm not one of those people that's like, I predict everything. No, I am happy to not predict. I also, it's important to share, you know, there could be nuclear scares, there could be nuclear something, something new on the long lines of that. You know, Aries is a very violent sign. This is a
Mm.
very strong eclipse that's coming. So, and it's over the US, which is interesting. So I'm very, you know, I'm just gonna kind of like, I will be traveling around that time, I think, but I'm kind of, I just want to lay low because
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot going on. But here's the thing, I don't stop my life for, you know, if something happens, I'm going to go somewhere.
Mm.
Um, but you know, it's just going to be a chaotic time and
Mm.
we feel it. So here's the thing, eclipses are important if they aspect a planet or a point in our birth chart within, I would say, around 8-degree orb. It's a little advanced, but if anyone's
Yeah.
advanced, so within around 8-degree orb. And if it hits a planet or a point in our chart, that means we're getting eclipsed. So that means if life changes, this is where people get married, people get divorced, people have a baby, people get a new job, people quit their job, people move across the country. Like big life stuff happens around eclipses because eclipses are based on your soul's journey, not just your ego's journey. So
Mm.
that's what it's like. You thought you needed that job. Well, you lost that job and the job because it's going to be better for you in the long run, right? But we always can't see it now. So I once started a relationship on the eclipse. We met like right around the eclipse, which was aspecting my Venus. And then 6 months later, because they happen around every 6 months, we broke up on the next eclipse. And I was like, okay, this is so clear that this is done, right? This is like part of my path and now
Like
it's done.
in and you're out.
That's exactly what happened. Exactly.
So the energy, I guess, then would run for like an 8-week period. Is that correct? So if we're looking at the eclipse in
It's actually
April,
6 months. It
okay.
actually is 6 months, but around the eclipse, it starts about a month before, but around that week before, it gets really volatile, and a week
Mm.
after too. It's pretty volatile around that time. But then the energy falls into place over the next 6 months until the next round of eclipses.
Mm. Well, we're going to be in America at the
Yeah.
transformation event with Jason on the
Yes.
8th of March.
I'm
And
glad that's before, I know that starts the eclipse, but I'm glad that it's like a little bit before the eclipse in April, because I'm like, whew, he should have consulted with me to make sure next time for his big
totally.
ones. Yeah.
I'll consult with you for any dates, any significant dates. So then that takes us, is it to September for another eclipse? Would
Yeah,
it be?
there's September and October, yeah, for the next
Yeah.
round.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
they happen all the time. You know, here's the thing, even if eclipse doesn't hit your birth chart, because not every eclipse is going to impact you personally. And we don't want it to impact us personally every time. Because could you imagine you're like, you're divorced, then you're married, then you're
Yeah.
divorced, then you have a kid, then you move. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like so much,
So
like you can't do
dramatic.
this. It's so dramatic. Yeah. So thank God it doesn't hit everything in our chart every time. However, because we're energetic beings, we all feel the emotions. So it gets really sensitive. You feel the
Mm.
heat in the collective and you feel everyone. So it gets really, really it gets a little wild in the collective. And we
Yeah,
feel it.
I just wish I could now go back and see the last 4 years unraveling on eclipses now that I've got
You
this
could
education.
look up on Cafe Astrology. It'll give you all the eclipse dates and write them down and then look at stuff that happened. And I guarantee you big things happen around the eclipses for
Wow.
you.
Wow. And because this year we've got the election. So day one
Yes.
of 2024 starts off with an X class off the sun. So you're
Wow.
talking about how it's going to be a massive year. And
Yes.
I feel that. I feel like this year is like, who knows what's
It's
going to happen,
That's how I feel. Like there are things I didn't even say in my 2024. Listen, I said a lot. It was 2 hours. But
Okay.
it's also like there are things that none of us even know because it's so beyond. But I gave them that impression of
Mm.
this it's wild. It's not a quiet year.
Mm. And for relationships, the government and the separation is certainly dividing. What can people feel with their relationships? I know through COVID there was a lot of division in my family with belief systems um, you know, and that's fine. And the light workers were able to hold compassion. Some people couldn't, of course, and some people probably haven't talked to some of those family members since the event of all of that energy. So is there anything spicy about 2024 in terms of relationships, love relationships, family relationships, and then obviously having a ripple effect up through the different levels?
Well, 2024 is an 8 year, and as many people know, eight is infinity, eight is karmic. So there's going to be a lot of this is a faded year. So I think people need to understand is to what my guides always joke with me, and they say drop the rope. And what they mean is like they showed me one time in a meditation, I was like holding on to something, and they showed me like the tug of war, and they were like drop the rope, right? And so
Oh,
I laugh so hard because I'm like, oh my God, that's what I'm doing. They're like, just drop the rope, right?
yeah,
So I
that's
always say
a
to
great
my audience,
analogy. I love that.
oh, they showed me, they were making fun of me. They were showing the poop and they were like pointing at you. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like,
And
that's
like
what I'm
how
doing.
like how
I was
ridiculous
like,
you look holding
got
on.
it, noted, noted. I'm human, I'm figuring this out.
Yeah.
So I always say drop the rope. And what I'm going to say with relationships is listen, I'm all about trying and communication, but I also know that in an 8 year, there are some things that have to leave and have to start. And so it's like not forcing something to
Mm,
stay if it's not meant to be there anymore
mm,
because we don't know what's coming for us and we have to trust.
mm,
I'm not saying just walk away from a relationship, but I'm saying if it's very clear and it's not working, you have to trust that. So I would say
mm.
drop with
Off
relationships.
the rope.
Then you can allow new stuff to come in.
I just love that. I'm gonna go tell Pete that one to
Yeah,
drop the
drop
rope.
the rope.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
say
such
it
a
all the time. Drop the
yeah,
rope.
it's so good. Yeah. So what else have you got planned for this year? What are your goals? What are your intentions? Have you got any
My goal
projects?
is to finish my book that
Woo!
I am trying so hard and I will, it's nobody else's fault but mine. There's a little bit of procrastination because I'm doing my work and doing everything else. And then I'm tired. Then I'm like, oh, okay, now at like 7 o'clock at night, I'm starting writing. And so it's a lot. That's me complaining. I'm human, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna work through it. So I want to finish my book. That's
Yeah.
what
Awesome.
that's my should be my only main goal.
Well, you've been so busy, all of these forecasts, you did your TV series last year, which is
So
absolutely
much.
amazing. The set, everything, and I know I personally voiced you on this, but congratulations on doing that, stepping up and being a divine feminine, actually stepping up on the big stage and showing and sharing your medicine. It's a really beautiful thing. And women are now coming up and Pete was laughing at me over breakfast. He was, you get to go have your girls' time, your girls' chat. And I'm like, yeah, because I've only got
Aw.
the boys here when through the last few years, it was all Pete's family with they're all brothers. So it was me and them. And I was like, let's hang out with the boys again. And
Yeah.
I feel like now some of the women are coming back and connecting and we get to have that beautiful energy exchange. Yeah.
It's so important that we set a foundation and we support each other. And like I am a girl's girl. I am rooting girls on always, always. I'm a cheerleader because we need to set that example. We need to support each other. It's not competition. You
Mm,
know, we go further together. And even if you don't go further, you celebrate them. I've
mm,
celebrated my friend, almost all my friends, married with kids, and I haven't had that yet. And I've celebrated all of them because that's
mm.
how it should be.
It should
That's
be.
how it
And
should be.
it's, yeah, I've really taken a bigger like vantage point at this, like standing on top of the mountain looking at this. And because in my childhood I was running the competition energy with my sister, it was
Mhm.
implemented through different dynamics and odd weird stuff, of course. And it's still she's still playing that out, you know, but I'm like dropping the rope on it, and
Yeah.
it just feels nice to finally exit that and move into like this energy of blessing all beings and all other souls. Like in this when I
Yes.
leave, my new go-to, my intention for 2024 is to leave and bless everyone, or
Oh, I
you
love
know,
that.
energetically, telepathically talk to someone and give them a blessing, wish them well, even if they're walking and I don't know them, you know, a complete stranger on the street. But just moving into this positively charged energy flow, because a lot of us women have been anchored in competition energy. So we
Yes.
need to do your beautiful technique, drop the rope and move into the blessing vibration, because I really do feel that that's the age of love, right? That's us remembering all of this.
Mhm.
And that's where the magic is. You know, we've all forgotten magic. And you know, I love the chills when I see number plates, when I see synchronicities, when we meet people randomly at dinner, for example, like we did, Danielle, and we just
Yes.
got it off, and we were,
Yes.
you know, so grateful to sit next to each other and just be on the same radio station. And that is the magic that we're all forgetting. And I think the school system is totally like taking us down this logical sort of, you know, path, and us women need to really drop and honor the magic. And it's beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. It's just so important. And we can see that what we've been doing is not working. So
Mm,
we need to do something else. We need
yeah.
to that. It's not working.
No, it's not. It's definitely not. The masculine energy on the planet needs to settle down a little bit, and us females, you know, and the feminine energy rise, which is going to be a really beautiful thing moving into the age of Aquarius. And yeah, next year, it sounds like next year the planets are all coming in hot and there's going to be big changes. So we look forward to touching base with you again and getting an
Yeah.
update on all of that. So thank you so much for coming on today. Where can everyone find you, Danielle? Do you want to share your website, your socials?
Yes, thank you. So you can find me at I am Danielle Paige, and that's Paige on Instagram. And my website is daniellepage.com, but everything is usually linked, or on my website, I sell other things. I have other opportunities there. So yeah, it's just great. Great to
And if you,
connect.
yeah, if you're looking to get educated, guys, on astrology, this is the lady that she's been doing it for 15 years. She's strong. This is
In this
her
lifetime, in this
in this
lifetime,
lifetime. Yeah. Yeah. Do
in
you know
this
when
dimensional reality.
have you seen any past lifetimes where you're doing all of this?
Oh, I mean, I've done this so many times.
Wonderful.
It's literally just there's so many lifetimes of me doing this. And you know, I'm just going to end with this. This was wild. When I was moving to Florida, I was packing up a bunch of stuff and I found this box of stuff from like grade school that like these projects that I did that I just kept. And one of them I saw, it said Ye Astrologer. And I'm like, what is this? I must have been in junior high, maybe sixth grade. And I guess there was some kind of project that we had to take something from like the medieval times. And I pretended that I was an astrologer, but I wrote this whole story. And I'm telling you, I wrote this whole story. I was in Italy, writing this, telling the story. I have a family, and I work at night, and I look at the star. I mean, this whole thing. And I'm like, I never even looked at astrology until I was 30 years old. But
Wow.
that's how my soul was just speaking. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. I love it. The remembrance
Yeah.
is all coming back. It's
Yes.
so wonderful.
Just
So good.
beyond.
So good. Well, thank you so much for coming
Thank
on
you.
today. And yeah, we'll put everything in the show notes below for everyone to reach out to beautiful Danielle.
Thank you so much.